it is time for Hot Take and Debate.
Zach Ertz finishes outside the top 12 of fantasy tight ends.
Ezekiel Elliott of the Dallas Cowboys will not be a top 10 running back in fantasy 2020.
DeAndre Hopkins will not be a top 8 receiver.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the WNP podcast. I'm your host, Mike Mitchelson. Joining me today, as always, my co-host, Chase Crawshaw. How you doing today, Chase?
Doing pretty swell. I'm ready to talk some football. How are
Oh,
you doing?
you just spoiled the episode.
Oh, no. We're going to talk undecided sports topic. How
There
are
we
you
go.
doing today?
Perfect. Thank you. I am doing very well, and joining us today, we have two people I would refer to as clowns, but maybe they don't think of themselves as that. They probably don't wear the makeup. But hey, who knows? Maybe we do a video podcast someday, and maybe they are wearing it.
I was going to say, Graham has the funky hair color for it.
Oh, okay. Well, you mentioned Graham Weaver. Welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on.
Wow, this intro was the best intro I've ever received on this podcast so far. So we're setting up for a great show.
Hell yeah.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Cool. Very happy you're on. And then also joining us, we have Alec King. Alec, welcome to the show. How are you today?
I am wonderful, Mike.
Perfect.
Great.
So today we are going to be going back to, honestly, it's my favorite show to do, the Hot Take and Debate, because there's some good arguments going on. Chase and Alec call each other bad words all the time. It's very funny. Sometimes I have to edit those out, but hopefully it doesn't get too vulgar this time. I can keep all that in. But Hot Take and Debate, we did that last episode. It was strictly about fantasy. This time we're going to be talking about the NFL as a whole, not looking at a fantasy perspective, but as the sport, the NFL. So we all have 3 hot takes, and we're going to obviously talk about them. We'll debate, figure out if that's a possible hot take or not, and that'll be the show. We've got some extras just in case we seal each other's. We obviously don't know what they are yet, so we'll start it off now. Who wants to go first? I decided that I'm going to be nice this time and actually go last, so anyone volunteering to go first?
My first one is super hot, like scalding hot. The Broncos win the AFC West over the Chiefs.
Very interesting.
Can I have some supporting information for this, please?
Okay, so obviously Patrick Mahomes just signed a huge deal, and I think that means that they're not going to pay Chris Jones. Chris Jones is one of the better defensive front people on that team. Also, the Broncos' big problem last year was their offense, which they've completely revamped, given Drew Lock all kinds of weapons. Their defense was never a problem, always solid. I think they're going to remain to be solid, if not be great. And I think their offense, super young, super talented. I think they have a shot to win the AFC West. And I'm not denying that the Chiefs are good. I just think it's going to be a battle for them, and I think the Broncos are going to come out on top.
One question for you. How many fantasy points will Jerry Jeudy have? If this takes place, obviously.
I'd say 180 is a solid bet.
Okay.
You know what?
I might have to agree then.
All right. If this happens, you don't want to win this year, Mike. You might as well trade Jerry Jeudy to me now, so you don't have to worry about winning this year.
Why would I trade one of the best young wide receivers in the league?
Because all he's going to do is make you go like 5 and 7. You're going to pick like 4th.
I mean, for Jonathan Taylor and Zeke, I'll do it.
Ha!
Wait, but Chris Jones is under contract.
But he said he's going to hold out if he doesn't get a new deal.
Yeah. That did happen.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
he's going to pull a Darius Slay.
Since he's on a 1-year deal right now.
All right, so I will have to say I'm going to disagree with that. I'm of us 4. I'm pretty sure I'm the lowest on Drew Lock. I still think he can have success, especially since he has the weapons going there. I just don't think he's like any sort of special talent, and the Chiefs are just too good. Their offense is just too dynamic, and their defense did play a lot better last year. And sure, you got to worry about Jones, but say he does play, gets that contract, then really they're in the exact same spot they were last year at minimum. So I'm not concerned at all. I don't think the Broncos have the juice to outpower the Chiefs.
Graham, your thoughts on this one?
No, I agree with Chase, and I don't think that I'm higher. I'm probably around the same level of confidence in Drew Lock that you are, Chase. I mean, I like the guy. He has weapons around him. He's got one of the probably the most deeply talented running back core and frankly wide receiver core in the league. He's got just weapons all around him, so he's set up for success super well. But I mean, he hasn't showed anything of significant quality over the years that he's been in the league. So, I mean, I've hope for him, and I really hope that he does well, knowing that I have Cortland Sutton and Noah Fant in two leagues, or well, now one league, but yeah, I mean, I still think the Chiefs are miles ahead of the Broncos.
All right, and I'm a big fan of the Broncos this year. I think they are a playoff team, but I think saying they're going to win the division is a little bit too much overhype than they really deserve. I mean, I didn't think they were going to be great last year. They were all right. They didn't make playoffs. They were awarded Jerry Jeudy in the draft, which definitely helps them. Bringing over Melvin Gordon, that helps them too. I think Drew Lock takes a step. But to win the division over Patrick Mahomes, I just think that's too much of an ask for that team, because I think Patrick Mahomes can really give your team 8 wins, even if he doesn't have the players around him. He's that good.
I mean, I agree with that. And I'm not denying the Chiefs' talent or Patrick Mahomes' talent whatsoever. I just think the Broncos, with all the offensive pieces that they've added now, I think they're definitely the most well-rounded team in the division. And like obviously Patrick Mahomes, like you said, could get 8 wins without the players around him, and I totally agree with that. But I think that the Chiefs are going to get 10, 11 wins this season. And I think the Broncos are going to have the same record, but same record or 1 win more. And if it is the same record, I think they'll have a better division record, mainly because I think the Broncos are good for 1 win against the Chiefs at Mile High, just because of the environment there, regardless if fans or not. But that's just my thinking.
For sure, and that could be. I think that division is going to be incredibly competitive this year, but we'll have to wait and find out to see who is crowned the champion of that division. Graham, let's talk about your first hot take next. Go ahead, give us the hot take, give us some reasoning, and then we will just absolutely obliterate it because we know it's terrible.
Oh, as it always happens. All right, my first hot take is the Bucks will get less than 8 wins and miss the playoffs. I think I'm not sure how you guys feel, but personally, I really am not a big Brady guy at this point in his career. He's turning 43 in August. Last year, he was 27th in completion percentage, 27th in yards per attempt, 23rd in sacks, 57 passer rating when throwing deep, and he had the best defense in football. And so, with those personal stats and with the stats from his defense, like, you're not getting that on the Bucks. You're getting a better, much better offense or wide receivers. I think running back isn't better. Tight end is better. But I just don't think that Brady himself is the guy that, like, we know. He fell really hard last year, and I don't think that giving him all these offensive pieces is gonna help him do much better than he did last year. And without that incredible defense that they had, I don't think the Bucks can get it done.
See, I don't even think this is a hot take at all, because I thought of this one too. People are like trying to hype up because it's Tom Brady and he finally has like 2 really talented receivers and still has Gronk, which he's like never had a combination like that in his career. But he's 20 years in his career, so he's really at the end of it. He had a terrible year last year, as you said. And see, I wrote down 6 total hot takes. We're discussing 3. This was my 6th. So this was my backup to my backup to my backup, just in case I had one get taken from me, because I didn't think it was really even that hot at all.
Ouch. Alec, your thoughts on this one?
I don't think it's all that hot. Honestly, I think they're good for 8 or 9 wins, especially looking at their schedule. I'm a huge Buccaneers receiver fan. Like, I think I think they do have the best wide receiver duo in the NFL. But their defense is still young and unproven, and obviously last year the Patriots were absolutely carried by that stellar defense, and the Bucks just don't have that. And then Brady can't sling it downfield, and that's one of the best things that Mike Evans is good at. Also, running back is still a question mark whether it's going to be Ronald Jones, Keyshawn Vaughn, but in New England, they had so much depth at running back. They could like rotate a bunch of guys in who played well, but now they don't even know if they have one guy who's going to be able to carry any sort of load in Tampa Bay. So I think it's fair. I think they're good for at most 9 wins, and I think they're definitely going to miss out on the playoffs.
I would say it's possible, Graham, but I don't like. I think it's more hot than these guys are thinking, because if it wasn't for Jameis Winston throwing 30 interceptions last year, I think this Bucks team could have been a playoff team. They were good. Jameis Winston cost some games. Their defense is older. It's more proven. They bring back Shaq Barrett, who led the league in sacks last year. They bring in Gronk and Brady, guys that are very consistent and don't turn the ball over. I think they couldn't be a good team and a playoff team. But I also think it's possible for them to only get 8 wins and miss the playoffs. So I'm going to go possible, but I think it's more hot than what these other two are thinking.
Yeah, well, Tom Brady won't throw those 30 interceptions, but he's also not throwing those 33 touchdowns.
Possibly.
Agreed.
He's got a lot of weapons. I don't know.
Okay, but Mike Evans is the real touchdown threat. I mean, Gronk too, but Gronk sat out for a year, and then Mike Evans is only good deep down the field, and Brady deep down the field is embarrassing.
Gronk, Godwin, Evans, you can throw them a 5-yard slant, and I could see them all taking it for a touchdown.
The Bucks offense last year was not like that. They had to completely reinvent the offense.
It wasn't like that because Jameis could throw it downfield.
Yeah, but it's now it's a COVID offseason where you can't really work out together. You can't really work out as a team. It's hard to just change an offense like that.
I think defense is harder to do with no chemistry, no practice than offenses.
I never said it wasn't. I'm just saying it's.
So I'm saying if you're gonna knock
rebuild offense,
if you're gonna knock the offense for not being together, I think you can knock every single defense even harder.
I agree. I don't.
So
no, I have no problem with that. But their offense is just they've got good weapons, but it's not the right build. It's not the right makeup.
I do have one thing to say, pertaining to Gronk, especially, is I don't understand all the hype around him. Like, yeah, him and Brady were solid together, but like you look at his last season before he retired, it wasn't great, and he is proven to be super injury prone and being out of football shape for how long? Like I don't think he's going to play more than 8 games this season. And even when he does play, I don't think he's going to be as big of a threat as he was when he was with the Patriots. So, but I mean, even saying that, they still do have a great tight end duo with Cameron Brate and O.J. Howard, and I think Brady's going to use them. But I don't think throwing Gronk in this equation and using him as a reason why they're going to do so well is fair, because he didn't have a great last season, and he is proven to be injury prone, especially without being in football shape for a while.
Yeah, I feel you, but I don't know. I was more arguing the fact that Graham said that he couldn't throw 33 touchdowns. I think that's possible. But let's now move on to Chase's first hot take. It's I'm already cringing because I know it's just terrible. It's probably about Josh Allen or something.
It's not about Josh Allen. I don't have a single take about Josh Allen.
What?
I have 6 takes here, not a single one involves the Bills or Josh Allen. My first one did involve J. I sent you guys a little sneak peek since you guys the number 1 in the letter J. That's all you saw. But it's that the Jaguars, after this season, will not spend significant draft capital on a quarterback, meaning that their offense will be just fine with Gardner Minshew at the helm. So I will go into a little bit of my explaining. So Gardner Minshew last year, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but his touchdown interception ratio was actually pretty impressive for a rookie. It was something like 23-7 or something. It was something along the lines of that, where for a 6th-round rookie, just getting thrown in there, not ever having really first-team reps up until Nick Foles got hurt in the season, that's a pretty astonishing thing. The offense was worse last year talent-wise. So this year coming in, you still got Leonard Fournette coming back. DJ Chark had a breakout year. D.D. Westbrook, we're still waiting on him, but we've seen his talent coming out of college. They just drafted Laviska Shenault at receiver. Chris Conley has a lot of athleticism. Tyler Eifert is a tremendous tight end. He stayed healthy all last year because the Bengals didn't really use him. So maybe last year not getting that usage, he can come and be really healthy with the Jags. And even if he is really healthy or not really healthy, he gets hurt at some point, Josh Oliver and James O'Shaughnessy are still 2 very nice replacement guys. And then also, receiving option out of the backfield, Chris Thompson is going to be way better than Leonard Fournette was. And Leonard Fournette still had a tremendous year receiving the ball at the backfield. This offensive line isn't amazing, but it's not bad either. It's good enough where it's really going to help this team. I don't think they're going to be a playoff team by any means, like maybe 5-6 win team, but it will not be Gardner Minshew's fault. It will not be the offense's fault.
Now, I like Gardner Minshew. I think he did all right last season. I think he deserves another try. But if they are the worst team in football, you cannot pass up on Josh Allen. Not Josh Allen.
Trevor Lawrence. They won't be the worst team in football, though.
Hope they pass on Josh Allen because Josh Allen is trash. But
they already have Josh Allen.
That's true. Other Josh Allen. But I think it's a safe bet to say that they are the front runner to be the worst team in football this year. Mainly because their defense not good. They lost a bunch of people, either traded them away or just don't have them anymore. Their offense was not really anything special last year. So if they were in a different position and if they were maybe not going to be the worst team in football, I'd say that's a fair point. But I'd be willing to put money on them having the first overall pick. There's no way that they can pass up on Trevor Lawrence.
I'll put money on that. I think that the Redskins will be the worst team in the NFL this year.
Okay, let's put $20 on it.
All right, we're gonna shake through the mic.
Yep.
It's recorded. Perfect.
Yeah. I agree with Chase. I don't think that they are going to address QB if they end up that bad. Because if you look at the rookie quarterbacks from last year, Minshew had the second most touchdowns for a rookie quarterback, just behind Daniel Jones. He was first in DVOA for rookie quarterbacks, and he was first in PFF grade for rookie quarterbacks. So, I mean, that's a lot of metrics that's showing that he did pretty well in a terrible situation. So I'd hope to see Kyler Murray at the top of that class next year, and I think he will be. But I mean, it's hard to ignore that, Gardner Minshew was pretty dang good on a terrible team.
Graham, this is why you're so handsome.
Gardner Minshew cannot throw the ball downfield whatsoever, and I think you need a franchise quarterback that can do everything.
Brady never threw the ball downfield whatsoever.
You are comparing Gardner Minshew to the greatest quarterback of all time, so...
No, I'm not comparing him to Aaron Rodgers.
I'm surprised Graham didn't get in there. All right, well, I'm gonna take it away. So, sorry, Chase, but Uncle Rico's time is done. He is Andy Dalton to a T. He's worse than Andy Dalton, but he is just so incredibly average, and you cannot win with an average quarterback. Who are they going to take instead? Penny Sewell? Great, offensive tackle is awesome, but an average quarterback behind a good offensive tackle isn't as good as a great quarterback behind a bad offensive tackle.
I don't think they're having a top 3 pick though. I don't think they have a top 3 pick. They might maybe have top 5, but I'd say it's more likely they're 6 to 10 than 1 to 5. I know the odds don't say that way, but in my opinion, based on how I view their offense and their developing defense,
5 to 6 wins.
Yeah, I think they could be a 6 and 10 team.
Didn't the Giants finish with 5 wins and they had the 4th overall pick?
Yep.
Can I address something that Alex said really quick?
Go ahead, Graham.
Yeah, so Alec, really quick, he mentioned that Gardner Minshew was terrible throwing the ball downfield last season. In the deep middle of the field, he had a 126 passer rating. In the deep right of the field, he had a 146 passer rating. But in the deep left, he had a 57 passer rating. So don't throw it deep left, but deep middle, deep right, he's
sounds like Mitchell Trubisky 2.0. But what I'm saying, what is the how far do they consider deep downfield? Because I'm pretty sure that it's more than 20 yards downfield.
And when I say 15 yards.
Okay, I don't consider that deep whatsoever. If it was 30, okay, I'll give him that. But the fact that it's more than 15 yards downfield, I can throw the ball 15 yards downfield. That's not an impressive stat to me.
It's yards in the air.
You got to keep in mind that you might throw the ball 30 yards maybe 4 or 5 times a game. It doesn't happen that often. The NFL is it's still a passing offense, but most teams are designed around quicker passing offenses where you're going to throw it within 20 yards. You only throw it that way if you're trying to come back, have a big play, or if there's just an obvious opening. So you don't have to worry about it that much. As long as he's efficient enough running the ball and then gets the ball off quickly where he needs to, when he needs to, he'll be just fine.
I like Gardner Minshew a lot, but he was a late round pick for a reason.
He was only one year starting, and it wasn't like a Joe Burrow 1 year season.
He's incredibly average. He's worse than Baker Mayfield in my eyes. He's like Baker Mayfield, but worse. So he doesn't have as good of accuracy as Baker Mayfield. I think he's less athletic than Baker Mayfield, and Baker Mayfield's not even that athletic. Either is Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow's not very athletic. Like, but he can run, but
I think Gardner's easily the most athletic of those three.
Baker is.
I would disagree, but I think Minshew is just so incredibly average that only a complete imbecile of an organization would pass up on a Trevor Lawrence or a Justin Fields, or if Trey Lance proves himself, a Trey Lance if they do have a top 5 pick. Which, if they 5 to 6 wins, that's going to be no higher than I think 7th overall.
Well, 6 wins could
The Jaguars are a stupid organization, so obviously you just prove Chase's point.
Hey, and yeah, that plays a little part of it. I'm saying, like, if they picked like top 7, then Trey Lance odds are will be at least Trey Lance will be there if you're at the 7th pick because he still is an FCS quarterback. I would say take him no doubt, but I think Gardner's going to do enough where they're really going to hold on to optimism. I don't think Gardner Minshew's going to get much higher than he currently is. I think he can do enough to help a team but not carry a team. So he's going to do just enough to show enough signs where you just can't move on from him yet, and this team isn't willing to, so they're going to go with offensive line or they're going to add more weapons on the defense.
See, my thing when I'm looking at just draft philosophy, when you think about what goes very high in the draft, if, like, let's just say all players are equal. Let's not bring up like supreme talents like Jeff Okuda is, like Jalen Ramsey was. That's the reason why corners went so high. But if we just look at what goes high in the draft, you look at quarterback, you look at pass protection, and pass rushers. They don't need pass rushers. They just got Caleb on Chase on, and they have Josh Allen. They could use some offensive linemen. They could use Penny Sewell. But why would you get a Penny Sewell if you could get a Trevor Lawrence?
I mean, if they're picking first overall, then sure, but I don't think they'd be picking first overall. And, dude, if you pick first overall, you gotta take out Trevor Lawrence. But if I'm second, unless I'm a desperate QB team, like I don't know how you pass on Penei Sewell because I still think there's a big enough gap between Lawrence and Fields. As good as I think Fields can be, I still think that gap in just true talent and reading the game is still rather large. So if like Penei Sewell is there at the number 2 pick, and whoever the hell has that, you're an idiot if you pass on him because he would have been the number 1 offensive lineman in this year's draft.
Well, not if you need a quarterback.
Well, if you really need a quarterback, that badly, no.
No, but it's cool because Penei Sewell, he's dropping to 32. The Bengals are going to select him. So
that's happening.
It's super cool. All right, so let's now move on. One sec. Alec, you said not happening. Graham, you said that is possible. And I disagree. I think they're going to use some high draft capital on the quarterback. So my first one, I'm going to just get the homer bias out of the way. And we're going to go with the Bengals. Their offense goes from worst to first. They are going to have a top 5 offense this year. Why do I say that? I think Joe Mixon is a top 7 running back in the league. I could probably argue top 5, but just for sake, I'll say top 7. We're looking at the big picture here, the whole Bengals offense. Then if you can have at least some bit of healthiness in that wide receiver core, you got AJ Green, who made it to 7 consecutive Pro Bowls. You got John Ross, who he's got the speed to do really anything on the field he wants. Tyler Boyd, he's coming off his 2nd consecutive 1,000-yard season. Auden Tate, if you don't know Auden Tate, look up his highlights over this past season. I showed it to the guys, and Andy Dalton just looks terrible in that video, but Auden Tate looks stupendous.
Auden Tate looks like he's Calvin Johnson on crack in that highlight reel. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah. So, and then they add T. Higgins, who is the perfect AJ Green comparison. If you look up T. Higgins on the NFL draft site, it shows that he is compared to AJ Green. So I think they have a lot of good pieces there. If Joe Burrow is the real deal, I think they're going to have a top 5 offense.
Coming from, I think, the second biggest Bengals fan in our friend group and here on the pod right now, I say I agree. I am higher on Joe Burrow than you are. Obviously, I think most of us are. I also think I'm higher on the Bengals than you are. Like, I think they have a shot to make playoffs this year. Well, you say that you don't think they do. I absolutely love their receiver room. Even if there is an injury, that's just next man up. Their next man up is still better than a lot of people's second starting receiver. I love Auden Tate. I love Tyler Boyd. I love T. Higgins. I love AJ Green. John Ross I'm still a bit iffy on, but he's not bad either. I love Joe Mixon. I think he's top five. I don't think there's really an argument for that even. Like you said, I think it would have been just safe to say top five. Their offensive line revamped. Jonah Williams coming back playing this year. I think it's going to be solid. Their defense is really, obviously the only question mark, but like you said, this is just about the offense. I could definitely see them being a top five, and I am really excited to watch that team this year.
Yeah, so I think top five is possible. It's a stretch just with a rookie quarterback. As much as I think Joe Burrow is going to have one of the best rookie seasons we've ever seen from a quarterback. Yeah, as much as I think that, it still is hard to go to top five like that after that type of season.
They were 30th last year.
Yeah, so I think it's possible. If you said top 10, I'd be for sure all in. Top five is a little much, but I do have to say there are two guys, as long as they're both healthy, that Joe Burrow is going to absolutely love in that offense. Tyler Boyd and John Ross. Because Tyler Boyd, Joe Burrow loved throwing to the slot. He threw Justin Jefferson out of the slot a ton last year, had a ton of success. And then John Ross is a smaller Jamar Chase, but has that crazy speed. If John Ross can stay healthy and actually be used like Zach Taylor liked using him last year prior to him getting hurt, Joe Burrow's going to absolutely love him. Joe Burrow puts the ball exactly where he wants. So the second John Ross gets that little break from his defensive back, it's easy touchdown. There's going to be, how do I say this? John Ross is going to be a very high touchdown receiver if he stays healthy for the Bengals this year, like a shockingly high number. Like undrafted in fantasy, but you pick him up and he wins you leagues number. I think he could be that good this year.
That's why I have him.
Yeah.
Pound it. All right, Graham, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't know. I wish I could look and see when the last time we had a top five offense under a rookie quarterback. I think that would be a really interesting thing to see. I think top five may be a little too far of a stretch for me to join you guys on, but I would love to see it happen. I just don't know if in this COVID-19 climate, if Joe Burrow can get completely coordinated with the offense. If he can, then it's a lot more likely than regular. But I really hope that they can. Obviously, you guys have talked about all the different pieces they have on offense, and the addition of Joe Burrow is a massive, massive step above the quarterbacks that they've had over the past few years, other than Andy Dalton because he's the GOAT. But I don't think I can go there with you guys just yet.
Gotcha. Yeah, you know what's funny is I would disagree with my own hot take because I'm just I got to see it from Joe Burrow, I got to see it in the NFL. So I would even disagree with my hot take. But hey, I'm glad that I got some of you guys to agree. So next up, we will go with Alec, your second hot take.
Okay, my next hot take is Deshaun Watson finishes in the top 3 for MVP voting, even without DeAndre Hopkins. And I say this, obviously his receivers took a huge dip. When you lose someone like DeAndre Hopkins, that's rough. But I just think he is one of the most talented quarterbacks in the NFL, and I think that they are going to be airing it out quite a bit. I think even with David Johnson there, I think he's going to get hurt, and I think that they're going to have to rely on the passing game. I think he's going to throw to all kinds of different receivers all over the field, and I think he's going to have a career season and finish up there for MVP voting.
See, that's interesting. I'm a big D. Watts guy. I was in favor of him being the first overall pick, the first quarterback taken in that draft. I mean, obviously Mahomes is the better option, even though Trubisky was the first one taken, but that's for a different discussion. So I'm a huge D. Watts fan. I think this year he will have a career high in rushing yards. You're gonna have to really rely on that, and then he could have a great passing attack because Brandon Cooks is a talented receiver if he stays healthy. Will Fuller's a talented receiver if he stays healthy. The tight ends are iffy, and then still also a receiver. A guy like Randall Cobb was paid to come in and produce, so we'll see what happens. And then the backfield, David Johnson, Duke Johnson are both pretty good receiving options. But it's just not enough. The offensive line is solid at best. The receiving core, the tight end core, the running back core isn't enough to really help D. Watts. I think he can bring this team to a playoff spot just on his pure talent. but I don't think it's going to be very pretty. I think he's going to throw more interceptions than he would like to. I just don't think he can get into the MVP conversation.
I think. Go ahead.
My really just quickly on that. Sorry about that, Mike. Is Lamar Jackson last season? I'm not comparing them because obviously they're two very different players, but I think that Deshaun Watson straight up has more skill than Lamar Jackson, and Lamar Jackson did not have good weapons last season. Won MVP, carried his team to most wins in the NFL, and I think that they have a better offensive team than the Ravens did. And that's why I think that D Watts can do it. I just think that they need to trust him, rely on him, let him let him run in those lanes that he needs to, and just I think that he can have that career year mainly because someone like Lamar Jackson just did it with a not so great offense. And like I said, I think he is leaps and bounds more skilled than Lamar Jackson.
And
Are Lamar and D Watts really that different of players? I mean, obviously D Watts is better arm talent and Lamar is better at running. But I think in general, theoretically, they have a very similar play style.
So D Watts cannot rush for as many yards as Lamar Jackson did. And the reason that the Ravens offense worked so well and was so hard to guess was because you never knew what Lamar Jackson was going to do. He always had that ridiculous scrambling option. He's the fastest quarterback in the league. You're not going to catch him. He's going to juke you out. He still led the league in passing touchdowns. He had Mark Andrews. He had Hollywood Brown have a solid year. Willie Snead did a strangely really good job. I won't expect that this year, but that's another point. And Mark Ingram had another just random good, way outperform his fantasy ADP Mark Ingram type year, where I don't think you'll have those types of performers on the offensive side of the ball for the Texans. Like, D Watts can do great. He is going to have, as I said, he's going to have more rushing yards than he's ever had, but he's not going to be like an 1,000-yard rusher. He just, he can't do it.
Yeah, there's no question that D Watts is the most valuable player on that team, but I don't know if he will get the recognition because I don't think that the Texans will be a, top 10 team. Or, playoff team would be a simple way to say it.
Yeah, so Chase said that he thinks it's possible for them to make playoffs, but it'd be Deshaun Watson throwing a little more interceptions than he would like. I think if they make the playoffs, that he's going to have to play at an MVP level. Their offense got worse, obviously, because you got rid of their worst weapon. Their defense got worse, too. They lost Jadeveon Clowney in the regular season last year, and they lost DJ Reader, who's one of the best graded run stoppers in free agency. And Bill O'Brien is just doing a terrible job with this team. I see them as like a 6-10, 7-9 team. I don't see them as being a playoff team. However, if they do make the playoffs, I think it's on the back of Deshaun Watson. And if that's the case, I could definitely see Deshaun Watson being top 3 in MVP voting.
My big thing is with the whole Bill O'Brien situation is something that I was debating putting in my hot takes was that Bill O'Brien gets fired at some point during this season. And that's kind of, it's not necessarily contingent on that, but I do think that I think that would help Deshaun Watson if Bill O'Brien just gets out of there, and not necessarily just for this season, just overall, but I also think it would help him this season. So that's another thing that kind of helps me lean that way and thinking that Deshaun Watson can do that. But that was just
I think the issue with Bill O'Brien is that he's trying to wear two hats. He's trying to be the head coach and the GM, and the GM part of him is just absolutely terrible.
No, he's bad at both.
The head coach part of him is not very great. I'd say it's average at best, but the GM part
better than Matt Patricia.
Just Oh, excuse me.
I'm sorry, I sneezed.
Oh, bless you.
Well, you should never sneeze again.
I agree with Chase. Stop sneezing.
All right. So you got one person that, well, I'm going to say disagree just because I don't see them making playoffs. So you're on your own there, Alec. Graham, let's talk about your next hot take.
Well, you had your homer take in the first round. I'll do my homer take right now. Get ready, guys.
I knew it was coming. Oh, boy.
Okay. The Lions will get 9 or more wins and make the playoffs, winning their first playoff game since 1991. So stick with me here. I know I've said before that they would get 10 wins, but I just wanted to dumb it down so I could get some people on my side. All right, so Stafford's coming back. That's the biggest part of it. Obviously, he was a top 5 quarterback in my opinion, and in a lot of other people's opinions through the weeks that he played. He was 4th in quarterback efficiency, behind only Breeze, Lamar, and Mahomes. And the coaching staff and roster both seem to be put together in a way that Quinn and Patricia had planned when they first brought Patricia on as the head coach. So I think this is the year that we're going to really see the potential of Patricia and the potential of this roster in general.
We better because well, first off, I'm gonna disagree just because you said they would win a first playoff game. If the NFC was the NFC a couple of years ago, I would say maybe, but the NFC is very strong right now. Let's be honest. Seahawks, 49ers. The NFC North's a very good division. I think the Eagles and Cowboys are definite contenders. And then you still got the Saints, the Falcons, and the Panthers to worry about as well. A really good NFC conference right now. So I'm going to disagree just because of the playoff thing. I could see them getting 9 wins. I actually predicted them 8 wins just earlier tonight off the pod. So I'm going to disagree, but it better be. Because if it's not, you got to say bye to Patricia.
I'm in the pretty similar boat as Mike. I have them at 9-7. Actually, did the NFL Playoff Predictor, that website, like a week or so ago, and I had them at 9-7, getting that 7th playoff spot now that exists. But they're not winning a playoff game. It's not happening. The team is going in the right direction, in my opinion. But I think they'll get to the playoffs, still lose because they just don't have the right experience. But it'll be a good building block moving forward. Hopefully, at that point, Matt Pack is still here and did a good enough job where he can keep working with the team the way he wants it to go. So I don't have to take that sticker off my car. And so the 9-7 part is something I'm all in on. But I can't see him winning a playoff game.
All right, real quick. I'm wondering how you guys would explain the game against the Kansas City Chiefs. Obviously, the defense played better than it did most of the rest of the season. Though that first, weeks 2 through week 5 or 6, that was the prime of the Detroit Lions defense. Even though they still weren't the best, the pass rush was pretty abysmal. But getting Stafford back and getting more playmakers, DeAndre Swift, and fixing up that defense, getting a new defensive coordinator, I think, and we played the Kansas City Chiefs on their level up until the end of the game, where Mahomes had that crazy, fourth quarter comeback. But I think, if you play that good against the Super Bowl champs, how are they completely unable to win a playoff game? Especially if it's like a wild card.
I think everyone has their good games. I mean, let's just talk about why did they tie the Arizona Cardinals when they were up huge going into the fourth quarter. Everyone has their good games. Everyone has their bad games. You find that even medium. Where are they at? I don't think that medium is a winning playoff team. So everyone can have their good games. Everyone can have their bad games. I think they did help the offense by bringing in DeAndre Swift. How much of a role is he going to have, though? Because I think Kerryon still gets snaps, even though I love Swift, and I think he should take the starting job right away. I mean, everyone has their good games. That's how I would explain the Chiefs thing. But, Chase.
You can't forget, the first half of the season, the Chiefs' defense was abysmal. It was terrible. It was embarrassing. The second half of the year, for whatever reason, it clicked. They figured out the right schemes, and everything worked, and they were one of the better defenses in the league. So they played that Chiefs defense when they were just absolutely horrible. Matthew Stafford was playing really well. So for both those things to happen, you're not going to have that happen every single week. And then when you're in playoffs, when you're in playoff time, everybody's really geared in, and teams don't really make mistakes that often in the playoffs. So going against a top team, a team that would normally have a bye, because that means they'd be just sneaking in. So all the previous years with the 6 teams, the number 2 seed would have a bye, but instead the 7 would play the 2. It's going to be too big of a talent disparity.
I'm in the same boat as Mike and Chase on this one. I don't think I also had them at around 9 wins. I think it was 9 wins. And it did also put them in that 7th playoff spot, but I don't think they have a shot at winning a playoff game. Just same reasons that Mike and Chase both said, and also you kind of lost me where you said Matt Patricia's potential, because his potential is a good defensive coordinator, and that's about it.
God, Alec, you're such a bully. I like Matt Pat.
It's incredible how quickly the opinion on Matt Patricia has changed. I mean, he was like the top coaching candidate that year, and he had won multiple Super Bowls with New England, being the defensive coordinator, comes over as a highly touted head coaching candidate, a defensive mastermind, and over 2 years he's become an absolute bum in most people's eyes.
So quickly, I'd like to bring something up, and this isn't on your hot take. We can move to Chase's hot take after this. We kind of know the results for yours, Graham. We disagree just because of the playoff part, but what I want to bring up is about coaching. So if we look at the young, super talented coaches that look like they're going to lead the NFL into the future, the Sean McVays, the Kyle Shanahans, you could say Matt Nagy, you could talk about Brian Flores. The one thing with all those coaches is within their first year, you see something. You see a spark. You see
exactly.
They don't have a great team around them, but you do see something spark. Just like McVay, he took the Rams much further than they were before. Gurley, Goff looked absolutely amazing. Brian Flores, he probably coached the worst team on paper in NFL history even last year and brought them to 5 wins. And I haven't seen that from Patricia, but one sec, I haven't seen it from Zach Taylor either. So I'm very worried about Zach Taylor this year. I think I need to see that spark. I haven't seen it from either coach. I have seen it from Flores. I have seen it from LaFleur. I've seen it from Shanahan. So that's just one point I wanted to bring up quickly.
But that's not normal though. Coaches usually take 2 to 3 years to implement their culture, implement their system.
The stats on this because recently that's not.
I'd love to. I don't have them pulled up.
Recently that is not true.
Also, pretty much except for Brian Flores, every name that Mike said of those coaches are highly offensive coaches who have all had the success. Like, coaches getting hired now are these offensive-minded coaches. Those are the ones that are having the most success, except for Bill Belichick, because he's just Jesus when it comes to football. It doesn't matter. He could be a special teams, specialty coach and still win the Super Bowl, just because it's the way he is. But, like, all these offensive-minded coaches are the ones coming in and being really groundbreaking. Like, I think Matt Patricia has potential to be a good coach with the Lions, but, like, I just don't know if he takes them to a Super Bowl or takes them over that hump. That's why I'm in the train. If you're firing Matt Pat, hire Kellen Moore, because I think he is the legit next up-and-coming offensive coach. So just keep in mind, pretty much all the coaches except for Brian Flores, who is just a really smart football guy, they're all offensive-minded.
Yeah.
More thing, just quick to say about this. I've sounded off about this in group chats all the time. Is if he kept us at the same place that we were when we had Caldwell and then improved, I would be way more on board. But the fact that he took us from a team that would constantly have winning seasons and do solid, just not make that playoff push, and brought us to how many wins does he have total?
Not a lot.
9 wins total in 2 seasons. That's my exact point. If he
thing
kept
is,
us at the same point, it doesn't matter. Coaches
It
do that all
does
the
matter.
time. If they kept us at the same, if he kept us at the same place, or even minus 2-3 wins, like, I'd be fine with that. But the fact that he took us to 9 wins in 2 seasons, when Caldwell could get us 9 wins in 1 season consistently, that just shows
But
that that's not it.
The team was never going to get there. It had to be changed from the ground up.
Quickly, guys. So I'm gonna ask a question about the Lions before we move on to our next hot take. Excuse me. Quick question. I was talking to it with my grandfather earlier today, and we got to make this quick. We still have 6 hot takes to go, and we're about 45 minutes in, so let's make it really quick. Thoughts on maybe Bob Quinn being the problem here, and let me tell you why. So Bob Quinn obviously did great things with the Patriots, but when we look at the Patriots and their success, we see Bill Belichick getting the absolute best out of players that, let's be honest, aren't supremely talented. He's getting the best out of players that are 3rd, 4th round picks that no one even noticed, and getting it done with those guys. Do we think that maybe Bob Quinn is thinking Matt Patricia's can do the same, but in actuality, that's not the case? The Lions do need more talent. The Lions need to go out in free agency and spend more money. I try to make that make sense as much as I can. Chase is pointing at himself. Chase, what are your thoughts on that?
So Matt Patricia is not Bill Belichick. Matt Patricia needs more pure talent than Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick is the only coach that can take nothing and turn it into a Super Bowl winning team. He's the only coach in the NFL that can do that. So Matt Patricia needs more talent. So I don't think Bob Quinn's necessarily the problem. I think the problem is the culture of Detroit, not like the culture, but the history of the team being so bad, just ownership not really being very, like progressive. They just kind of sit back and wait for things to happen. Just the team not really ever trying to move in the right direction is the issue. Bob Quinn has done a great job, drafting these guys that are, some of the first second round picks have been as expected or below expected, but once you start getting like third and beyond, he's done a great job finding some real talent there. So it's kind of similar to what they did in New England, but just you need more pure talent when you don't have the great mind of Bill Belichick coaching the team.
Yeah, I agree. And the thing about this team, I know these same old Lions fans love to just count it all up to, it's the same thing over and over again. This team is never changing, but this is different. This head coach, this general manager, they're different from what we've had in the past. This team actually has a culture, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But it is not the same old Lions.
I am bigger. I like Bob Quinn more than I like Matt Patricia, mainly because I think at worst, I think he's a middle of the road GM in the NFL right now, which I am more than willing to accept because you can't always get these like insanely amazing GMs. I do think it comes down to ownership. At the end of the day, like Chase said, I think the Fords are too passive when it comes to owning the team. They don't do enough. They're, like you said, they just kind of wait around. They don't do much. But I think, while obviously Quinn has had his fair share of not so great draft picks, he's also hit great on some later round guys. So I don't think he's at fault for this at all.
Gotcha. All right, let's now move on to our next hot take. Chase, you're up. Let's start making these a little bit quicker. I mean, we can still go 3 minutes or so on all of these, but let's try to get it a little bit quicker. We're running out of time here.
All right, so my second hot take, kind of similar to how Alec had a quarterback for his MVP finalist. I have a quarterback for my MVP finalist. Derek Carr will be an MVP finalist. So, if you look back, Derek Carr, throughout his whole career, is one of the more accurate, one of the more efficient quarterbacks in the NFL. Just never has done it at a high volume because really he hasn't had the best offensive weapons to do it. We thought we were going to be able to see that with Antonio Brown going there. Obviously, he's like, nah, and then just went psycho. So, you didn't get to see that pure talent. But Henry Ruggs has come in, super high draft capital. He's obviously going to be used. He might be used as their primary receiver over, Tyrell Williams or Darren Waller. But even if not, Tyrell Williams still is a guy who, even if he's not amazing talented, he's going to be very helpful to that offense. Hunter Renfrow out of the slot is going to be fantastic. Darren Waller had a breakout year. He will continue on that. Josh Jacobs is obviously a tremendously talented running back. People expect him to take a big jump this year. He should get more work in the receiving game. Even if not, Jalen Richard, Lynn Bowden, those guys are also great in the receiving game. This team is just really set up to do pretty well offensively as long as John Gruden coaches them the right way. And it'll all be on the back of Derek Carr, putting up well over 4,000 passing yards, a good amount of touchdowns, low interception numbers.
It kind of hit me when you first said Derek Carr, one of the most efficient quarterbacks for a while. And at first it hit me and I was like, what? There's no way. And so naturally I wanted to look it up really quick and he is 8th in DVOA and 10th in QBR, which is, top 10 in both. So, I mean, you're right.
Yeah, he gets it done.
I'm a big Derek Carr guy. I like him a lot. I drafted him in our recent Dynasty startup. I think he's primed for some big things, but the one thing that makes me nervous is I've been hearing a lot of things about him and Gruden's relationship not being the best, and not having that good relationship with your head coach can hurt you quite a bit. But with the talent around him, and obviously him being efficient, still being a decently talented quarterback, I think it's possible. I would say, but I think it's really all contingent on his relationship with Gruden at this point.
Yeah, I love Derek Carr. I don't know. I mean, you guys might disagree because you just talked highly of him, but I feel like I've been the biggest Derek Carr supporter out of our friend group. But he's incredibly efficient, but I don't think the volume's there. I mean, We saw him do amazing things in his second season on their way to playoffs, but he got injured. Could have been an MVP type season that year, but yeah, I don't know. I see him more as a 3,500, maybe even 3,200, and low 20s and touchdowns every type year, but very efficient and doesn't turn the ball over. So I'm going to disagree, even though I do love Derek Carr.
My last little point, though, touchdowns, Darren Waller, he only had like 3 or 4 touchdowns. He had a low number of touchdowns. That's going to improve because he's such a talented receiving option at the tight end, so big-bodied. Henry Ruggs is going to inflate those yardage numbers because he's so fast. He's gonna break off extra long receptions. I guess the word I'm looking for. So even if you think he's traditionally 3,500, like I said, he could easily break 4,000. I had no problem giving him an extra like 500 yards on top of that, just based on the offensive weapons that he's given.
Yeah, I like Ruggs, but obviously unproven. Same with CeeDee Lamb and Jerry Jeudy. I'm not gonna say they're MVPs, even though I'd like them to be because I have them on my fantasy team. But, unproven guys, always a worry. And then Darren Waller, yes, he's in line for more touchdowns, but I don't think Derek Carr's touchdown numbers go up because Foster Moreau vultured some of those. And Foster Moreau is going to be
I still think Foster Moreau. Well, is he out all year?
Yeah, I think he's out all year.
So they have Jason Witten, too, who can help. I know he's not anything special, but
he can help commentate. Just kidding, he's terrible.
But he was still signed, so he'll still get used sparingly. So those I think there'll be an extra touchdown or 2 to the tight end spot. I don't know his touchdown numbers from last year, but I'd say there's an extra at least 5 to 6 to the wide receivers and an extra at least 1 to 2 to the running backs.
For sure. Could be possible. And Josh Jacobs probably going to be the MVP candidate if the Raiders have any. Because on my
cool! Your fantasy team. Everyone's going to be the MVP finals. That's right.
Hey, at least I didn't do any biased hot takes on the fantasy episode, like some people. All right, my next hot take. Try to make it quick. The Colts. They will start all 3 quarterbacks this year. Phillip Rivers, very inconsistent last year, wasn't very good. Jacoby Brissett, average at best. They're going to want to see what Jacob Eason can do after those 2 both fail. I think they start all 3 quarterbacks this season.
The only way that happens, in my opinion...
Not injuries. I'm not saying no injuries.
I figured. The only way I'm saying that happens is if by week, 13, they're already showing they're not a playoff team. So that means Phillip Rivers is going to have to flop. Jacoby Brissett, we saw, he's not a starting quarterback. So he can only go in if you really need him to. So you start him for a game or 2, and they're like, all right, pick on Eason, so let's see what happens. So Eason might start a game, maybe 2 max, if this team is, bad. And I don't think this team is going to be as great as some people are trying to say that they might be. I don't think they're going to be absolute garbage either. I think it's going to be just enough where Phillip Rivers is going to play. Maybe at the end of the year, they'll play Eason. I feel like if they're going to play quarterback the last game or 2 because they're out, they're going to choose Eason over Brissett since they already saw what they got from Brissett. So I don't think it's very likely, really, is what I'm trying to say.
I mean, I'm a big Phillip Rivers guy personally, as you guys know, but I agree with this because Jacoby Brissett isn't it. Phillip Rivers is aging, and he's been in the same offense his entire career. I don't think he's the type of player that can go in and perform the same way he did in a completely new offense. And I also really love Jacob Eason. So I think that they might try and see what they have out of him because obviously they went out and signed Rivers and drafted Eason because they knew Jacoby Brissett was not the answer, even though he is kind of on the younger side. So I genuinely do think that even if they don't start all 3, I think that Eason will get the starts over Brissett if it's really a lost season for them, which I think it will be.
Graham?
Yeah, I don't know. I think, Phillip Rivers really struggled last year. He's getting up there in age. But I don't think that he will be... If they're going to take him out, it's not going to be for Jacoby Brissett. It's going to be for Jacob Eason because they want to see what they have. And if they're taking him out, no injuries, it's because they're not doing well, and they're going to want to put in the rookie and give him some time. So I think at most they're going to start 2 quarterbacks with no injuries.
You see, this is where I disagree with you guys because I said all 3 for a reason. I think Phillip Rivers shows his inconsistency, shows that he turns the ball over too much. And this can be in the first 3-4 weeks, and they're going to be like, hey, we should be a playoff team right now. We should be hunting for those playoffs. So let's get a guy in where we know he can make the playoffs. We know he can be consistent enough to get us there. So they're going to play Jacoby Brissett. And then once they realize, this guy is just so completely average, that's when they throw in Jacob Eason. I think the playoff mentality and wanting to get there to the playoffs is going to put Brissett in over Eason. If it goes down like Chase says, where there's not a quarterback switch until 13, 14 when they're already out of playoffs, then sure, go right to Eason. But I don't think that's going to be the case. I think Phillip Rivers could get yanked as soon as week 4.
I think that's a pretty fair point, personally. That's why, like I said, like I can see it happening, but I also said like at least I think it'll be 2. But I do agree that, but I don't think I think 3-4 weeks is a bit over the top. I think it's more like 6 to 7. And then they'll probably throw Brissett in if they do, and then he won't be it, and then Easton will get the last few starts of the season. But I guess I don't know. We'll see though.
Yeah, for sure. Could be. All right, so we will now move on to our final hot takes. Alec, you're up first, and we'll see how it goes.
Okay, well, Mike's going to love this one. Chase is going to hate it. Jake Fromm takes the starting job away from Josh Allen after Josh Allen has an abysmal start to the 2020 season.
$100.
I'm not going to put a bet on it because it's supposed to be a hot take. But I say this because, Josh Allen, hot garbage, not the quarterback of the future. I'm with Mike's dad on this one. Josh Allen ain't it, never will be it. Jake Fromm all the way, baby. Georgia Bulldogs. Woof, woof.
Jake Fromm certainly ain't it. Jake Fromm clearly showed he is not worthy of being a starting quarterback. He showed that his final year of college. He showed it with his draft position. Sure, if you don't have to love Josh Allen, I think Josh Allen has taken jumps every single year in his career. I think he continues taking that jump. I don't think he's going to be some crazy MVP candidate or anything, but he's going to get enough done, especially with better receiving options to get the job done. Even the running game should be improved too. This team is set up to do really well, and if you're saying that Jake Fromm's going to take this job, that means Josh Allen's going to have to go like 0 touchdowns, 12 interceptions in the first 3 or 4 games because they're not just going to give up on him just like that. If they spent maybe a second, third round pick on Fromm, then sure, but they didn't.
Yeah, they're not taking Josh Allen out, I don't think. They've invested 2 years into this guy, and I think that they want to get this offense revolved around him and his play style, and I don't think that they are going to give any trust in Jake Fromm. I think they drafted him to be a backup, and I don't think that that's going to change this season because I don't think that Josh Allen is going to have an abysmal start. I think he will take a step up from last year. He wasn't great last year. He was pretty bad, but he should take a step up in this offense with Stephon Diggs there now. So, I mean, obviously, Chase hopes for that. I'll join him, and I hope for that too. So we'll see how it goes.
Hey, Graham, you know who else was drafted to be a backup?
A lot of guys. Aaron Rodgers? No, not really.
Tom Brady, the GOAT.
Jake Fromm is Tom Brady?
Whoa.
Okay.
Tom Brady, the GOAT. I need John. Hey, I'm going to put John Dowell's goat noise right here. Tom Brady, the GOAT. Jake Fromm is going to usurp Josh Allen because, let's be honest, my dad was talking to me about it today. What is the one thing you can't fix when you get to the NFL? Yes, sir. It's accuracy. So
They kind of fix decision making.
Jake Fromm coming right in, gonna usurp Josh Allen. Probably gonna be a top 10 quarterback by the end of the season.
$100. I'll shake it right now.
It's a hot take, buddy. Why are you so mad?
I'll shake it right now because this is
wait,
the worst take I've ever heard on the show.
By the way, I texted Alec before the show and said he should say it just to get you mad.
So bad.
Perfect.
So
Great
bad.
hot take. Absolutely love it. It's perfect. Thank you, Alec. Let's now move on to Graham's hot take. Graham, you said you only had one Lions one, so I swear to all things, if it's another Lions one, I am going to jump through this computer.
Hold on, let me think of a Lions one real quick. No, it's Dwayne Haskins loses the starting job for the Washington Red Tails as he shows himself as the worst quarterback from the 2019 class, and Case Keenum takes over. Haskins was dead last in QB DVOA, QBR, completion percentage. He only threw 7 touchdowns through 8 starts and had the least yards passing for quarterbacks with at least 200 attempts last year. That is terrible. He's garbage. Case Keenum was 23rd in DVOA, 28th in QBR, 14th in completion percentage, and threw 11 touchdowns in 8 games started. That's better than every single thing that Haskins did. Case Keenum is by no measure a good quarterback, but at least he isn't last in pretty much every category that QBs can be measured by, like Dwayne Haskins is.
Wait.
See,
Graham,
I,
are you
yeah,
saying DBOA or DVOA?
DVOA.
Okay, I'm just making sure.
I said that wrong on the second time I said it.
so I just want to say real quick, Graham, I agree that Dwayne Haskins will not. Like, I don't know if he's going to flat out lose starting job, but there will be games he does not start this year. But it will not be the case Keenum because he's on the Cleveland Browns. It'll instead be to Kyle Allen, who they traded a draft pick for to back up Dwayne Haskins. But I agree 100%. Dwayne Haskins he's not it. I have the Redskins being the last place team in the league for a reason. I think he's going to flop so hard. The running back room, which is not strong enough. The tight end is a big if, big question. As much as we like Jerry Sprinkle and Thaddeus Moss is a beauty, it's still not pretty. And they've just got so many unproven receivers behind Terry McLaurin, and he still only had 1 year, so you just don't know. And this team is going to finish last. They're going to draft Trevor Lawrence, and they're going to be good to go.
Sorry, guys, I gotta go. I gotta get out of here, man.
I think it's
Forgot
very.
Case Keenum went to the Browns. I gotta go, guys. See ya.
I think it's very unfair to say that all these problems that Dwayne Haskins had are all on him, because they had an absolutely horrible offensive line, injury-prone running back room, god-awful defense, and there was too much just put on his shoulders when there was nothing he really could have done. Now, I do think that he is going to be one of the not so good quarterbacks at the end of the season. I think he's going to be definitely bottom 10, but I don't think he's going to lose the starting job. Mainly because I think that he takes a step up. He was young. He only had 1 starting year at Ohio State. I think he'll be good enough to start the whole season, but I'm not putting it out of the realm of possibility that they have a high draft pick and draft someone like Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields if he doesn't prove to be it. But I don't think it's fair to say he's going to be the absolute worst, because I still think he has skill. He just needs a better offensive line and not so injury-prone weapons to prove that he can do it.
Yeah, I am going to disagree with this one. I like Dwayne Haskins better than Daniel Jones.
Disagree.
Yeah, I know you disagree.
Bad take alert.
Hey, speaking of bad take alert, are you doing that one next?
No, that's my honorable mention.
Okay, I'm going to just say it then. Chase thinks the Giants are going to be a top 10 offense this year.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Bad take alert.
So,
bad take alert.
I like Dwayne Haskins better. Do I think he's the answer? Maybe not. But even if they're just absolutely terrible, why would you throw in Kyle Allen? Why wouldn't you just stick with the young guy?
Kyle Allen is a young guy, kind of.
My thing is, if the Bengals do absolutely horrendous this year, like let's say the Bengals go 2-14, why would they put Ryan Finley in over Joe Burrow? Like, it just doesn't really make sense to me. He's still super young. There's no reason to put him in if they're going to be a terrible team anyways. So I think, could he lose the starting job next year and Trevor Lawrence come in or Justin Fields come in? Sure. But I don't see him losing the job.
The reason I think it's possible, so that Joe Burrow situation, by the way, Joe Burrow was the first overall pick going into his rookie year, so he's not going to lose his starting job.
He's also like 72 years old.
No, he's not Brandon Weeden coming into the NFL 28
kind
years
of.
old. No. And the Redskins traded a draft pick for Kyle Allen. When you're trading draft picks for players, even if it's not significant draft capital, it still means that you have some faith that they could be useful to your team. So if Dwayne Haskins isn't proving what they spent the draft pick on him for, especially with the new coaching staff coming in with Ron Rivera being head coach, it's not his guy. I think it's very well in the realm of possibility that they just throw Kyle Allen in there while they prepare to draft Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields next year.
I think they could have taken Tua if they didn't think Haskins was their guy. So
yeah, but he wanted to give him a chance first.
If we're talking about Kyle Allen versus, Dwayne Haskins. Kyle Allen was better in every statistical category, an advanced statistical category
He also
than
had
Dwayne
better
Haskins.
receivers, also had a way better O-line, and also had the best running back in the NFL.
You
No,
forgot.
he didn't
You
have both
what's that
forgot.
sides.
guy's name?
Darius Geis doesn't play on the Panthers, does he?
Hey, what's that running back's name on the Panthers?
Reggie something? Reggie Bonifant? Him?
I can't remember his name.
I feel like he might be like some prominent player that maybe led all of fantasy outside of quarterback. And let's be honest, he was only second, even including quarterbacks. He was second in fantasy points. He led the league in all-purpose yards, other than obviously quarterbacks. So not really hard to
Okay, but
get better weapons than that.
DVOA is
Okay,
ranked on
okay,
on an
okay.
individual level. It's not like it's based on like the play of the quarterback, every play efficiency.
You can't just go based off of those kind of stats to make your assumptions about players like that. That just makes you sound dumb.
I don't care about analytics.
Yeah, if you look at a roster and you have the best offensive weapon in the entire NFL, obviously your quarterback is going to look good. Period.
Dude, math and
no
statistics make me
arguments.
sound
Hey,
dumb, allegedly.
Quick comment here. The Arizona Coyotes, yes, we're going to hockey. They signed on a GM who is a big analytics guy.
John Chenko.
Look where that got them. Nowhere. So I don't care about analytics. I want to watch my players play and determine if they're good that way. That's why Chase is going to be a scout. That's why scouting is such a big thing.
Dwayne Haskins and Kyle Allen both suck. That's the eye test.
That's fine, but Dwayne Haskins isn't getting benched this year unless it's for injury. All right, we move on to the next point, and this will be Chase, your final point. Let's get her going.
So, Mike, you know how you mentioned the Cincinnati Bengals were going to be a top 5 passing or offense, this year in the NFL? You know, I said that was a hot take of yours?
Sure.
You know why that's going to happen? Because Joe Burrow is going to set the rookie passing touchdown record. I think Joe Burrow cracks 30 passing touchdowns this year, and I don't think it's that much of a challenge. Because Joe Burrow, looks like the most ready NFL quarterback coming out of the draft that we've ever seen. He's coming off this ridiculous season. He's just, the throws that he makes are just unfathomable, and he doesn't make one or two a game. Every single throw is just so impressive. The ball goes exactly where he wants. He doesn't overthrow. He doesn't underthrow. Goes exactly where he wants. I know it's still an adjustment going to the NFL. You're playing way better defensive backs, defensive schemes. You're going against like there's. Hold on, let me reset here quick. Okay, so you're going against better. You're going against better defensive schemes in the NFL, of course. There's defenses that aren't played in college that are played in the NFL that quarterbacks have to adjust to. But Joe Burrow, he just has the intangibles. He has the confidence. He has the ability to read the field so well. He gets out of the pocket. He throws into these really tight collapsing pockets so well. It just blows my mind. And as I said, the John Ross is going to have a very nice year. Tyler Boyd's going to have a very nice year. CJ Uzama is a good enough tight end to really help out a rookie quarterback. Drew Sample is going to transition to offensive line after this year. But Joe Burrow will set the rookie passing touchdown record.
So you're saying he's going to go from 60 touchdowns last year to 30 touchdowns this year? That's quite the regression. What a bust.
Shut up.
I don't think I would personally call this a hot take because he's obviously going to start all 16 games. And the last person who did it was Mayfield, and he didn't start all 16 games. And I think his weapons are substantially better than Mayfield's weapons. Offensive line, I think, is just as good as the Browns' offensive line was when Mayfield broke the record. So I honestly would not call that a hot take. I think that's just a fair bet. I even think that Tua has a shot to break the record too. Honestly, I would put money that both of them break the record this year for passing touchdowns for a rookie.
Let's even throw Jordan Love in there. He's going to break it too.
Just to bring up that Tua point real quick, I don't think Tua starts all 16 is his issue. I know Baker did it starting 13 or 14 games, whatever it was, so it's possible. But I think Fitzpatrick is there and will start at least the first handful, so that if Tua can transition to the NFL like a lot expect, it'll still hamper his statistics a little bit.
I just think it's because I think that Tua could do it mainly because their running game obviously is going to be super unproven. They have two solid guys with Breda and Howard, but I don't really think that they're going to be relying on the run game as much. No. So even when Tua comes in, I think it won't be that hard for him to pass for quite a few touchdowns.
That's fair. Graham, your thoughts on this one?
Well, I think it's possible. It is possible. I think Joe Burrow is a great talent. I've never met someone that hates their rookie quarterback on their favorite team more than you, Mike. Uh, but it's definitely possible. He has insane weapons in the wide receiving and in his wide receivers, and Joe Mixon is a crazy talent. The O line when they're healthy is going to be above average, I think, and their tight ends are a little iffy. But I think Joe Burrow has the talent to put it together and make a campaign to beat the rookie tight end or rookie tight end, tight. Okay.
The rookie quarterback passing touchdown record.
Shut up. Okay.
I'm helping you.
Yeah. Okay. I get. At the end of the day, I think that Joe Burrow can make a campaign to beat the rookie.
All right, we get your point.
You need to cut all this out, dude.
No, I'm keeping it. I'm keeping it.
Do not.
I'm keeping it. All right, we get your point, Graham.
No, you don't. You don't. At the end of the day, I think that Joe Burrow can make a campaign to beat the rookie quarterback touchdown record.
There you go. He got it. Yeah, I'm still not cutting any of this.
Rushing or passing? You didn't clarify.
You're the worst, dude.
All right,
yeah, rushing. He's got that insane 40 time, that crazy 3-cone drill.
All right, cool. So I wouldn't say being realistic is hate. Like, I hope this dude does do that. I hope this dude puts up 50 touchdowns. And if it's the case where he does break rookie passing touchdown record, then it could be a playoff team, especially in this new 7 team per conference playoff format. Which I'd love that, but being realistic, I don't have as much confidence in Burrow as you guys do. Could he get there? Maybe, but I'd say around 25 is more likely. But hey, if he does it, then that means my fantasy team's good too, because I think I have probably every fantasy option. Oh no, I don't have Tyler Boyd, but I have every other fantasy option the Bengals have on my fantasy team. So
yes, you do.
All right, cool. So everyone says possible but me, because I'm realistic.
So that's kind of weird.
Yeah. So last one here, last hot take. This will be the hottest to end them all. Probably not, but maybe. Bill Belichick finishes first in the division. Tom Brady finishes last in his division.
I like that a lot because my backup was the Patriots win their division with ease, and with Cam Newton at quarterback, I think obviously it's going to be a way different offense with Cam at the helm compared to if they were using Brady. It is kind of tough for me on the side where you say that the Bucs are going to be at the bottom of the division because the Panthers are just they're all right. I like Teddy Bridgewater, but their entire offense is obviously Christian McCaffrey. Their defense is kind of eh.
It's
so
getting there.
I think they need a good 1 or 2 more off seasons before they can be a contender. So I think it's tough saying agreeing just on the fact that I think that there's worse teams in the Bucs division. But I 100% agree on the fact that I think that Belichick and the Patriots will be at the top of their division.
So I'm with Alec on this one. Obviously, I'm a big Bills fan. Listeners and you 3 know that. But Cam Newton in the Patriots offense, I don't think there is other than Tom Brady who was there for so long, I don't think there's a better fit in the NFL because Bill Belichick himself, like when they were going into a matchup a couple years ago against the Panthers, was talking about how good Cam Newton was and how much he would love to have a player like that. He's finally getting that player. I don't think the passing offense is going to be that different than Brady, except for that the volume is going to be less, and now there's going to be more emphasis on running. He's still going to throw to the running back slot. He's still going to throw to the slot. Still throw to the tight end. That's what Brady's bread and butter was his whole career. It's going to be a very, very similar offense in New England with a little more you have to guess for. So if the defense plays at the level it did last year, which is unlikely because it was just so good, so even if they played a fraction of that and still finish top 10 defense, it could still be a top 10 offense. It's not out of the realm of possibility, honestly, and that they could be one of the top teams in the league. I think Cam Newton should go in there and win the starting job undisputably because him compared to Jarrett Stidham and Brian Hoyer, like come on. They are in a great position to actually dominate the NFL.
Graham, your thoughts?
Hey, Mike.
Yo.
Good take.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was great commentary. Graham, this is why we have you on the show.
Yeah, so my argument for this hot take, just for the listeners, I honestly think Cam Newton, if healthy, could be an MVP candidate.
For sure.
Chase told me a stat the other day that fantasy-wise, every season Cam's been healthy, he's been at least a top 7 fantasy quarterback. So pretty good there.
Top 6, actually. Sorry.
Top 6? Okay. And then when I look at the Panthers and them versus the Bucks, obviously everyone thinks the Panthers will be the worst in that division. It's pretty wide knowledge. I'm a big Matt Rule guy. Joe Brady showed how great he is with LSU last year. Matt Rule, obviously a defensive guru, and if he is an elite coach, I think we see that spark like we did with Brian Flores last year. I think this defense will be better than what we expect it to be. They went out and spent a lot of draft capital on defense. They didn't draft one offensive player. And then Teddy Bridgewater has a lot of good weapons. He's got Christian McCaffrey. He's 3 deep at wide receiver with DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, and Curtis Samuel. So I think it could be possible. We could see the Panthers an 8-9 win team, and then going back to Graham's point about the Bucs only being an 8-win team, that could be the case. So that's my argument for it. We heard your guys' response on that, so thank you for that. That is it for this hot take and debate. We will be coming back at you guys with some divisional records that we'll be looking at. We'll probably do what we did last year. We'll predict the AFC and NFC North, the AFC, NFC West, and so on. It'll be a 4-part series, so stay tuned for that. I want to thank you guys for coming out and listening. If you could like, subscribe, comment, ring that bell. If you're listening on Spotify, make sure to rate us 5 stars, or anywhere else you're listening, make sure to rate us 5 stars. We really appreciate it. If you want to stay up to date with all that we do, you can follow us on Twitter at WNP Sports Pod. And then we also have the Facebook and Instagram links in the description there. So thanks so much for coming out, guys. We really appreciate it. And as always, we're not professionals.